It's good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millzy, back with Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Hometown Opens, so where I open some product for you. Today we're going to be opening an entire case of Aetherdrift finish line bundles. Originally Mikey was going to be here with me for this one, but it didn't work quite out, so it's just me for 6 finish line bundles. We're going to open it. All these are for the store. If you're interested in buying any Aetherdrift from me, it's going to be in the link in the description below for you. So in each one of our finish line bundles, we're getting 2 collector boosters, 6 play boosters, our box topper pack, special dice, the 3 raceways in extended art, and then the fancy box. There's also some stickers, as well as some other cool stuff. So we're only going to look at, all the special contents once, as far as these goes. We'll obviously be able to extrapolate that they're in the other 5. You have stickers here. Cool. I like this spin down. That looks cool. Race. The flag is the 20. Interesting. So like I said, for the other 5, we won't be looking at all the accoutrement, but we will take a look at it on this one. And like I said, I won't open this pack in the other 5, but let's take a look at it in this one. You've got our 3 raceways, foil lands, and then 1 of each in that yellow, in that new yellow foiling. So, okay. I think for the first one, we'll start off with our box topper pack, and then the other ones we'll see how we feel. Remember, it's 1 land and then 1 rare or mythic. So we see a mountain and debris beetle. Very interesting, this yellowing effect. I was a little worried about it, honestly, when I saw it on the when I saw it revealed, when I saw it on the kind of saw it on the video, I guess is the word I'll use. But I think it looks a lot better in person, although it's still not completely my vibe. Let's get into our 6 play boosters. I'll start off by asking, how have you been enjoying Aetherdrift so far? I think it's a fun set. I think there's a lot to be had. Good thing to note, double-sided tokens are going to be the thing going forward. No more ad cards, although we will still have art cards. Sunbillow Verge and Cryptcaller Chariot. Again, very happy to see the Verges back this time around. And happy to see them make more. Very helpful for a lot of players, both in Standard and in Commander. And of course, the potential for maybe we'll see some more out of the Verge cycle if they choose to maybe flip the colors. We return Monument or regular art rare there. I'm still intrigued to see if Hour of Victory does anything, being something that makes you a token when it comes in and then works its way up to a tutor. I'm intrigued to see what the views are there on that. I think it could see some up in value later, maybe. We will see. First art card of the opening is Sahur. I'll probably skip through most of the commons and uncommons, as we're going to see a lot of them in this video. We see Web Strike Elite. Got a double green Insect Archer. Cycling double X can be cycled to destroy up to 1 target or enchantment or artifact or enchantment with mana value X. As of the opening, I am not 100% sure what the values are on a lot of this stuff. We'll do a kind of a recap of the case at the end. If anyone's interested in just the stuff, go ahead and skip to the end. I'll put the thing in there for you. See, Possession Engine. This card, I'm kind of intrigued to see if it sees a lot of play in those vehicle decks. Being able to take something and being able to keep it for as long as you control Possession Engine feels like a really cool idea. It is only a creature, right? So it is a little narrow, but I feel like it'll still be very usable for the decks that want it. There we see the regular version of Debris Beetle and a Muraganda Raceway. I'm actually very intrigued to see where the Raceways end up. I think they're very useful lands, especially Muraganda being a 1 colorless land, right? That's working its way towards being Soul Ring once it gets to max speed. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure decks that really want to damage their opponent. There is a District Mascot in that Rude Rider frame. I'm sure the decks that really want to damage their opponents will be able to use Raceways a little bit more than others, but I'm still intrigued. There's Cullinan, our red-white vehicle and mounts commander from the set. Let me know what you think of the 10 two-color pair legends. What do you think, and how do you think Wizards did with them? I'm very intrigued to see how their popularity ends up. I think things like Carador are going to be very popular just for mounts specifically, getting that start of that love in OTJ, and now getting some more support. We'll go from the back here. Looks like they're Japanese printed, so we'll go from the back. Let's see what we have. I get 2 of the borderless vehicles, Tension Chariot and Cloudspire Sky Cycle. We have Curse Cloth Wrappings. I expect a card to see a lot of play in zombie decks going forward, especially for that Embalm ability. Stride Hanger Automaton, a card I expect to see a lot of play in artifact decks going forward. Demonic Junker, interesting in that borderless frame. There it is, Mendicant Core Guidelight, another one of the 2-color legendaries. I like this one. I think it's interesting to get that copy on the max speed. I also just love the art. And then we see a Bloodghast in that Rude Riders frame in foil. So the way that the case of Finish Line bundles is basically going to work out is we have a little bit over 1 full play booster box of regular play boosters, and then we're going to have about a collector's box worth of packs. So I'm intrigued to see how this is going to work out. Clamorous Ironclad and a Veloheart Bike. Monument to Endurance, going to be interesting in all these new discard decks, especially ones that can do it on everybody's turn. There's the Aether Kite from the Saheeli deck. I'm sure that's going to see a lot of love in all of those energy decks from Modern Horizons 3 and Fallout as well. Dragonautics Engineer. Monument to Endurance, this time in the extended art. And Mimeoplasm in the Japan Showcase. Man, that one looks cool. I have to say, I don't know how I feel about the new Mimeoplasm. I think it's really cool. I actually haven't finished my brew for it for the channel just quite yet. So at the time that I'm recording this, although it is coming to the channel, I haven't finished the brew for it yet. I'm sure I'll have some more opinions on it when we get there, inevitably. But at least right now, I think it's a cool card. I'm excited to see what people can do with it. Let's get into Finish Line bundle number 2. Let's start with our box topper here. We have a Forest and Lumbering World Wagon. That's a card I think is going to see some play, especially for its ability to be able to ramp. And then, of course, getting bigger for the number of lands you control means that, of course, it's just going to get better right as the game goes on. We see Samut, the Driving Force, a card or a commander I expect to see a lot of play in, something that I've lovingly said a couple times in the history of my time with Magic. If I didn't already have a tokens deck, I think Samut would be a fun one to try, specifically because it reduces your spells by your speed. I think that's really fun for my favorite flavor of tokens decks with X token generation spells and things like that. Here we go. We have Borderless Bleachbone Verge as our rare. Again, so happy to see the Verge is back and available to people to finish out that cycle. I am very intrigued to see if Wizards chooses to reverse the colors on all 10 of them and give us 10 more. I think it'd be more than worth it, and they would sell very, very well. Another Debris Beetle. Night Market. Man of the Chosen Color. Okay, so just another come on in and choose a color. The only difference there is it does have cycling, which I feel like is a difference. It does actually matter, right, in some decks, being able to cycle things away, you know, for either discard or draw stuff. There's the new Merfolk, Mindspring Merfolk. It has the exhaust ability, so once it can tap to draw X cards and put a counter on each Merfolk you control. I'm sure I haven't found a spot for it in my Hackball deck, but I think it's going to see a lot of spots or a lot of consideration in those style of decks, especially for its ability to kind of scale right into the late game and really take advantage of value that way. But I'm intrigued to see how everybody else feels about that one. There we have Far Fortune. Get a foil Marshall's Pathcruiser, and then Far Fortune. So we get the art card for it and the regular one as well as Unstoppable Plan. Unstoppable Plan, I expect to see some love, right? Being another copy of those Wilderness Reclamation style effects. This time it's for non-land permanents, but right, with the artifacts decks and all that out there, you know those are popular. Far Fortune, I've seen played in a couple games online, and I think it looks like a ton of fun. That one will be coming out. As you're watching this on the channel, it'll be in a week or so that I'll be covering that one, but I am excited to cover Far Fortune. I think that deck looks very interesting. We see Full Throttle, a spell I'm very excited to try, giving you extra combats and untapping all of your creatures at the beginning of each combat and tapping all creatures that attack. I think it's going to be a really good one and very useful to a lot of decks. Skip through the commons and uncommons there. Trying to make sure we stick to the good stuff, you know. Apocalypse Runner and Velhart Bike. First up, we have Burnout Bastronaut. Got a Gabo that when it gets max speed gets double strike. Priest of the Crossing gives counters on each of your each creature you control where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. I'm sure that'll be very useful in some decks. Well, there's a card I was hoping to see at some point. Aghanosar Rex, a 5-mana 8/8 dino, going to go right in my Pantlaza list. Well, not this one. This one will be up on the store, but definitely adding in. There's the Riverfire Verge, and then, oh, what a pretty card. Radiant Lotus and that beautiful Japan Showcase frame. This one actually in Japanese, so I'm not exactly what the value is on that one, but man, is that pretty. Of course, Radiant Lotus, seeing a ton of hype around it as a new Lotus, a new interesting effect. I'm very intrigued to see how the fact that it's not a mana ability affects it, if it affects its play at all. Love seeing it. That beautiful Japan Showcase frame. We'll look at it a little more later here in the video. Spire Mech Cycle and Apocalypse Runner. We've got Wax and Spell. Shape Thief can come in as a copy of any artifact or creature control. I love that idea, that Phyrexian Metamorph style ability. I think it makes better by 1, having Flash, and 2, having Cycling, just to give it some extra value. There's a land I expect a lot of people are going to be looking for, a new Swarm Yard, this time caring about the types that are going to matter: spirits, vampires, zombies. You know, I'm sure that's going to be very popular, with vampires being one of them. Wax and Shape Thief there in the Brood Riders frame. Caradora, another one of our 2-color legends. This one is one that I had a ton of fun brewing, and Mikey's been playing on the tabletop. I expected to see so much love with the mounts. And then Mechadant Core there in the foils. We've seen it a couple times so far. Again, I like the look of Caradora a ton. I think it's just one of those cards that it gives so much value to the archetype that it wants to play, especially with being paired with something like what's the name of it? Especially being paired with Fortune, the one that blinks the creature that saddles it, is going to be so good with Caradora for you to get that search every turn. Next, another box to protect Forest, and then Aghanosar Rex again. So we're seeing Aghanosar Rex again. Again, I think it's going to be really useful in just about every dinosaur deck. Yes, it doesn't have a killer ETB, but a 5-mana 8/8 is important, especially when you're still playing the things to give dinos haste and other things. I still feel like it's going to be a great piece in a lot of decks. There's Ovia, Automatic Artisan. This is a card I'm excited to try out. Each creature that's attacking one of your opponents has trample. Great way to encourage your opponents to get in for damage, right? And then for a green, you can put a creature or vehicle from your hand on the battlefield. If you put an artifact in this way, it gets 2 counters on it. I'm excited to use that in my Gorklaw deck for a little bit of cheating big creatures in. And then we get, well, Ziggs in Magic after Burner Expert. It has an exhaust ability to put counters on itself, and then whenever you activate an exhaust ability, you return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. To me, I just see Ziggs from League of Legends. I don't know if you guys are League players or if you have played in the past, but that's what I see. I can't help but think about every time I've seen that card. Part of our way into the third one, we see another Verge, Riverspire Verge. Again, not too sad to see those Verges. We need them. Great land cycle. Hopefully going to be very affordable at some point, hopefully, but to help people out, especially in 3-color decks. As someone who loves art cards, I'm kind of saddened that they're harder to get these times around. Here we go, our first triple rare pack, Unstoppable Pen there in the foil. There's another Shape Thief in the Rude Riders frame, and then Vinwixt, regular rare. Start your engine, then when you get to max speed, you get to draw 2 cards instead of 1. And there's another of the Raceways. There's a regular Almonquette Raceway. Again, I'm very intrigued to see what the Raceways are going to end up value-wise, if people are going to play them, if they're going to be one of those cards that are going to gain value 2 years from now. You know, some Magic cards could definitely be that way when they come out, and there may not be the right things for them, but they get it later. Perilous Slayer, I love. Kind of one of those Banishing Light style effects, but it gets better once you get to start your engines, being able to hand out counters, especially with how many decks that care about counters, you know, the new mounts and vehicles with Caradora caring about counters. Interesting to see the borderless of the regular Marshall's path there. Haven't seen any special guests just yet in our collector box opening that we had just a little bit ago. We saw one in our collector booster box, so I'm intrigued to see if we're going to see them here. There's District Mascot, one of the new mounts. Get to remove counters from itself to destroy artifacts and enchantments. A nice upside ability, especially for a color combination in green-white. It's going to be able to just really slam out counters all over the creatures you control, right? And allow District Mascot to act as a nice utility creature there. Another art card there for Bosri. Bosri is back. Hopefully we get to see him. There's Guardian Sunmare, a really interesting card. Whenever it attacks while settled, we get to go get a permanent of your choice with mana value 3 or less and put it on the battlefield. Very interesting ability. I'm sure it can be used to get other mounts, it can be used to get vehicles, it can be used to get a really interesting number of things. I'm intrigued to see when Mikey eventually gets to play Sunmare in his mounts deck against me, what he chooses to go get with it. Because I think there's a lot of really interesting choices. Get through our commons and uncommons here in the back of this Collecty Boosty. For me personally, out of Aetherdrift, just loving the new dinosaurs, obviously. I'll be covering my main decks updates here soon. Lots of updates to a couple of the decks from that. And then maybe I'll try my hand at some vehicles. I was trying to personally make sure I had a copy of a deck in my test box for each of the 4 Ixalan tribes. Of course, Pants has been in my deck box for a while. Hackball came back after Foundations again. I've been kind of mixing with it for a while, but I liked the idea of Kenway for pirates getting to be able to use vehicles, and so I'm going to be testing that one out a little bit more for myself. There's the Mindspring Merfolk. Lost a Monarch of Ifnir for our commander card. There is Burnout Bastronaut there in the Rude Riders frame. Stoppable Plan in the extended art, and another Waxen Shape Thief. Apparently we're just all over the Waxen Shape Thief these days. There is still a chance to get a serialized Aether Spark in any of our collector boosters. Not that I expect it to really realistically happen, but it is an option. That's always an option, right? Burner Rocket. And Spot Cycle Scouter. Spectacular Pile-Up's interesting. 5 mana, everything loses indestructible. Same thing with vehicles, and then you destroy all creatures and vehicles with cycling. That's interesting. I wonder if we'll see a lot of adoption of that. Probably, in my opinion, one of the best new commander cards from this commander set, other than the one that doubles up your counters, is Renewed Solidarity. Especially for decks that make tokens, especially tribal decks. Beginning your end step for each token of the chosen type that entered this turn, create a copy of it is huge. I can think of a lot of decks that want that. There's the Borderless Possession Engine. Winter Cursed Rider, my first time seeing that borderless version. And then a foil Akatasar Rex. All right. Love seeing more of the dinos. The scene to the left of me is just a mess of stuff. Just a mess of wrappers and boxes. Let's do it. Finish line bundle number 4. Over halfway now. See if we can close it off strong. Get some more pieces. Love seeing the Radiant Lotus. Love seeing Mimeoplasm. Let's see what we can do more. There's Hazoret, God Seeker. I have to say I'm not in love with the new Hazoret. Hazoret's original card was very fun. I did play in that standard at that time. I'm not high on the new one, but that's okay. I mean, not every card's going to be a slam dunk or a card that you love. There we go. Fun enough we see it in our regular pack. Again, it's a fine card. I just worry that, especially in Commander, you're just not going to probably get there to the point that it's relevant, in most games. Although I'm sure I'm going to say that, and then some decks just going to be able to realistically use it to their benefit, right? Mu Yang Ling, very excited to see this. See some play, giving all your vehicles flying, getting some card draw, and making a vehicle when it comes in. I'm sure a lot of vehicle decks are going to pretty much immediately put Yang Ling in their lists for that added value. But I'm intrigued to see what I can do with her as her own commander. That one's going to be coming up on the channel in a few weeks. See what we can do with Mono Blue there. Lifecraft Engine is a card I'm intrigued to, again, another one of those cards I'm intrigued to see how much play it's going to see. Again, it feels like a great idea for a tribal card, right? Buff your tribe, give you some value. I'm just intrigued to see if it's actually going to get run. Is the 3 mana +1/+1 enough, or would you rather play something else instead? Rally the Ranks is cheaper. I guess it depends on what colors you're in, right? Howl Squad Heavy is a card I'm very excited to try out. Reminds me a lot of Legion Warboss and Goblin Rabblemaster. These goblins that make a goblin each turn that can attack, and the Heavy gets the benefit of working its way up to max speed to being a mana rock or a mana dork for each goblin you control. There's Gas Guzzler, one of the new rares. I expect to see some standard play, giving you start your engines and then working its way up into sacking creatures to draw a card. I could actually really see this being not only in those Edgar Markov decks that finally got built after Innistrad Mastered, but I could see this going into some vampire lists, since vampires do so well at draining, right, in their normal play styles. I could see it being a nice sack outlet for those. Another Full Throttle. I was hoping maybe we'd see Tarion, our other dino friend. We haven't seen him yet, but we do see Lagarin, one of those mounts that's going to be very popular for those green-white mounts lists. All right, our next Collecty Boosties. I guess we just saw most of the rares in that one, unfortunately. I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Haunted Hellride and a response unit. Valor Flagship, I'm intrigued to see what people think of that one. I expected to see some play in a lot of those vehicle decks. Being able to make the pilots, I think, is a really good effect. Another Priest of the Crossing. Another Possession Engine. Redshift, another one of our 2-color legends. Redshift, I think, is interesting. I could see it being used either by itself or in, I could see it going in, something like Raga Draga, and just some of those things where you're making a ton of mana to use abilities. But I'm intrigued to see what Redshift can do on its own. And then another Whipstrike Elite, but this time in the Rude Riders frame. I'm intrigued to see what Redshift ends up being, personally. I like it. I think it's an interesting card. Just intrigued to see what people do with it. And I'm sure I'm missing some interaction, that probably just goes ham with it. Burnout Bastronaut, again, getting lots of those. Here we go. We got Rampaging Aetherhood as our commander card, and then Gastral Thrill Troller. I believe that one is getting some love in standard right now in those discard lists. Pyrewood Gear Hulk. The Gear Hulks are back. 5 new ones in the allied colors. Here's our red-green one. When it enters, other creatures can get +2/+2 Vigilance Menace until end of turn. Damage can't be prevented. Interesting. I'm intrigued to see if it's going to see play. I expect, maybe it goes in something like Henzi or Xenagos. I'm sure both of those would want something like that in their shell. And there we go, another dino, Regal Imperiosaur. So not too bad. I'm intrigued to see this one. I got to see it in one game with Pantlaza already. It did okay. It did its job, buffing the dinosaurs, getting them in for damage. But we'll see what it can do in some more extended play. And we are moving through these boosties. I'm trying my best to keep it not too long here, but still let you see the sauce, let you see the good stuff. And like I said, all these cards are going to be available on release day over on the store. Here we see Fearless Swashbuckler. Intrigued to see how much this one sees in Pirates deck specifically. I expect it's going to see a lot of in the Captain, what's his name deck, the Shark. I expect it'll see some play in those Kenway style lists, giving your vehicles haste, but I'm intrigued to see how much play it's going to see. Here we see Repurposing Bay, that Birthing Pod for artifacts, and then another Hezarite and another Shape Thief. So lots of Shape Thief going on for us. Again, I'm intrigued to see, I'm assuming any vehicle deck that can play it probably plays it, right? Because it just seems like a no-brainer to add that haste and add you that value. Here we see another Samut. Again, Samut's a commander that, you know, like I said, if I didn't already have a deck, I think I'd play it. I got to see what. I think CGB played it in a video, and it looked pretty good. And I just think it's one of those commanders that's going to end up being pretty good for what it's worth. Another River Churn Monument and another Raceway. River Churn Monument, I'm intrigued to see how much mill deck play it's going to see. 1 mana for a mill 2 on everybody or anybody you want seems pretty good. And then the Exhaust feels like a nice way to potentially end out a game, right? Depending on where you're at in the mill cycle. Another Debris Beetle. Apparently we got the market on Debris Beetle, boys. If you need one, let me know. I like it because it's kind of Siege Rhino, but a vehicle, which I think is fun. I just don't know what its target audience is in specifically Commander. There's Gonti, card I expect to see some play. And there's Tyrion. There's my boy. We finally got one. 9/7 for 5. Excited to play that in a couple of decks. But Gonti's a card I expect to see some play. It'll probably be its own commander for sure. Mono Black's got a lot of great stuff for it to play with. But I expect to see it on Brawl a ton. I expect to see it on Arena a ton. And I expect it to go right into some other decks. Especially, I think it has a lot of options in... you know, it's a rogue, so it could go on those outlaw style lists. It goes in Exile Matters style lists. I just think there's so much that people can do with it. Another Far Fortune. And I think that's what you want from cards like that. Cards that could potentially be good on their own, but also could be fun, depending on what you get them into. Getting into our 2 Collecty Boosties. I actually don't think in the Collector Boosters that you can even get those special guests in the common or uncommon frames there, so I don't think it's something we're caring about too much. There's the Gas Guzzler again. There's Temet. I was intrigued to see if we'd see one of the commanders, and we did. Temet is a fun deck. I had a lot of fun brewing that one for the channel. The Last Ride. Intrigued to see if that sees much play in Commander, but I'm sure it'll see some love in Standard or 60-card formats. For sure in some sort of deck. There's a Perilous Snare. Again, a card I expect to see some great play. And then a Zahur, Glory's Past foil borderless. Again, there's the white-black signpost legendary there. I think it's going to be really interesting. Of course, going to fit really well into all those new Esper Zombie decks, and I'm sure it's going to get some love outside of it as well. But I'm intrigued to see what people do with Zahura, and it'll be coming for the channel as well. Another Perilous Snare. Stridehammer Automaton again. We'll happily take another one. I expect that card to be worth some good value, especially for its ability. Lumbering Woldwagon there in the pretty borderless art. Explosive Getaway. Except the 1-tar artifact or creature. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step and deal 4 to each creature. Not bad. A potential one-sided board wipe that can protect a creature. And then we see District Mascot in the Rude Riders frame. Got a lot of our Rude Riders frames in the Collector Boosters here. We're getting into our last one, our last chance at glory. Although I think the Radiant Lotus is not a bad way to have some fun here with the Japanese frame. I know normally the Japanese text ones do go for a little bit less than the English ones. There we go. Got a Mindspring Merfolk in the in that frame. Kind of pringly there on that one, which isn't to be surprised, right? I have felt like some sets have been doing a little bit better on the pringling, but nonetheless, we still pringle. Unstoppable Plan. Again, I'm intrigued to see where the card sees its play. I think it just seems really good for your vehicle decks. It seems really good for even just Artifact Matters style decks, like things that care about Thopters, things that care about constructs, things that care about, you know, artifact creatures in general. Web Strike Elite. I think it probably sees so much love there. And then, I mean, you can take it a step further to other things. You know, does it go in like enchantment heavy decks, especially things with tap effects? You know, I'm sure there's a lot of lot of thought that could be put in there. Riverspire Verge, another Verge. We see Hull Drifter there, or Mull Drifter, but on a vehicle. I think that's like the 4th or 5th Riverspire Verge we've seen. We haven't seen too many of the other ones, but we've seen a lot of that one, which I'm okay with. Of all the 2-color pairs, it does seem like red-blue lands do normally sit higher up on the price scale. Another Mu Yang Ling. Getting to our last few packs here. Again, I'd love to see what you think of Aetherdrift so far. I'd love to chat with you down in the comment section below. There's Mechadent Core, and then Skyseer's Chariot. I'm intrigued to see if it's gonna where it's gonna see play, because it's a vehicle, but it's also, if you think about it, kind of a pithing needle, right? Come in, something costs a little bit more to activate. I'm sure someone's gonna be the meme one who comes down and picks Soaring and makes everybody's Soarings worse. But I'm intrigued to see how much play it sees. There's a regular version of that Pyrowood Gear Hulk. And our last 2 collector boosters. We won't do the, go from the back. We'll go from the front for these 2. Let's go out with a bang. Let's go out with an explosion. Otchik Emerald Radian there in the borderless. Seed of Arma. Webstrike Elite. Pima Trailblazer for our commander card, Coladin. All right. Otchik I think is going to be really interesting. I could see it being a very popular insect commander for that bottom ability, draining your opponents whenever another insect dies. You know, what's funny about that deck is I had an Amzu list around for a while and just never got it up. And then I saw Otchik and I was like, well, there we go. But here we go. Last collector booster, last chance. Perilous Snare, another Verge, Bleachbone Verge. Lifecraft Engine, Renewed Solidarity again. Good to see that one. And a Market Back Walker. Well, lots of cards sitting on the desktop, but we've got our 2 Japan Showcase frames in Radiant Lotus and Mimeoplasm. Pretty fun to see those 2. I think they're both interesting cards. And like I said, Radiant Lotus is very popular right now. Other than that, I mean, we got a lot of great things, a lot of borderless Verge, a lot of the borderless Verges. I think Renewed Solidarity is going to be one of those commander cards that's going to hold some great value for us, in that it's going to be very well used in tribal decks in Commander. I like the Agasaur Rex. I don't know how popular it's going to be outside of my Dinosaur Brews, but I still think it's fun to see it. Fun to see it here. I think Caradora is one that's going to see a lot of love going forward, with it being a mounts commander and that not having a ton of support. I'm intrigued to see where this endurance goes, especially in standard. I know I saw some lists really taking advantage of that guy and all of that. But let me know, what did you think of our finishing line case break? I'd love to see if you like these longer videos for openings, or would you rather me break them up in the future? I'm trying to get back into opening things up for the channel, so let me know what you think. Other than that, that's all I have for you all on this one. Link's going to be in the description. This video will be out before Friday when the set releases, and all these cards will be available in the store on Friday. Thanks so much for watching, and I catch you all in the next one.